Never seen a lame man walk, never heard a dumb man talk, never seen a blind man see. I promise you will change his name. Never seen a cancer dead, never seen all the poor get fed, never seen a prisoner set free. I promise you will change his name. Broken heart made whole. Never seen an orphan find a home. Never seen the weak find the strength.
Hey, everybody! Hey. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. What is up, Big C? We are back again. Back. Guess who's back? Back again. Yeah, Woo. I just quoted Eminem. That's how cool I am.
Yeah, you're hip. Eminem's still relevant with all the kids these days.
That's right. They still like that 8 Mile character, even Marshall Mathers, even though that song's from what 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was at least the fellow's still angry. At least he hadn't lost that.
Nah,
stayed consistent. Man, yeah. Clint, how you doing, man?
Man, and fantastic. Me and the wife made a quick getaway to Memphis, hung out with my cousin Brandy, ate way too much barbecue down on Bill Street.
Man, that's what you got to do.
But you know what? I have, as the kids say, no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Go to Memphis, baby. You got to eat some barbecue. You gotta tip a little to the king. Walking out on Bill, and you got to listen to. Did you listen to Walking in Memphis while you were there?
You know what's funny is, now that you mentioned that, as you can see, I'm repping the Memphis Redbird hat.
There you go. Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what happened is, my wife bought this big. My lovely wife Anna, is a ginger, as you know, and so the sun is a monster to her. She's like that character on Benchwarmers, like the sun's a monster, and they're eating sunscreen.
That's right.
So she bought this big sun hat, and I'm like, please don't wear that. I will buy you a hat during the game if you just do not wear that hat. So I overpaid for this hat. I'm like, well, I'm going to wear it on the podcast. So
there you go.
That is a long, irrelevant story.
Yeah, but it's a good looking hat.
How did I get there? I did that thing where I get really distracted. One of the batters, every time he got up, they played "Walking in Memphis." It was his walk-up song. And I think he struck out.
He just sit there with say, if you're going to play "Walking in Memphis," you got to get to the plate and just sit there.
You got to do that analytics. You got to do that Billy Beanball. Get to first no matter what.
You got to just sit there with the bat on your shoulder. I'm walking.
I'm walking. I ain't here to hit. I'm here to walk.
That's right. All right. Well, Lord, what's that line in that song? Tell me, boy, you're a Christian child. I said, ma'am, I am tonight.
There you go.
Love that. Well, that no one signed on here to hear me sing.
No, and I I thought about quitting my job and going on The Voice, and then somebody reminded me what a terrible idea that is. If I had a bucket, I couldn't get a tune in it.
That's right.
Carry it.
That's right.
But man, holy shnikes, what a sports weekend!
For a non-sports time of the year,
right?
Pretty much. This is a pretty sporty weekend.
It was. My holy shnikes moment of the week, me and you discussed it, is Phil Mickelson. At 50 years young.
The lefty.
And you know what? I mean, me and you are sadly closer to 50 than we are 30. So
let's not talk about that.
let's not talk about that. Definitely. We've had a few birthdays. But Phil winning a major, I mean, because, forever it was Phil and Tiger.
That's
Phil
right.
and Tiger.
Yeah.
That was the two they darted on, Phil and Tiger. Like Phil's not even qualified for most of these tournaments anymore. Yeah. And they give him sponsors exemptions or whatever. Just say, hey, it's Phil Mickelson. Let him play.
That's right. Yeah.
For him to come back and win one at 50 years old against the Young Bucks, number one, I guarantee you the ratings for that, I haven't seen them. I probably should have since I'd known for a couple days. I guarantee you the ratings are probably the highest they've been in a while.
Yeah.
The crowd
golf,
the crowd was electric.
Well, probably since Tiger's last one.
Yeah.
Last one,
because you got Tiger, because man, if you were the president of the PGA and you wanted ratings back in the day, you had it come down to Tiger and Phil.
Yeah.
In the final pairing,
Yeah.
Golf, there's not a whole lot the referee can do to make sure that happens. It's not, it is what it is.
Well, even when like Sergio was doing good, I mean, you knew Sergio was just going to be there to take his whipping and go home.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't going to be much with him, but you're right, to get Phil. And that was amazing, man. That was, I got that notice on my phone. I think me and you were talking about something about the time I got that. And I was like, wow, Phil just won. It didn't hit me. And then you came back and you're like, yeah, man, he's the oldest one to ever win one. Yeah. Win a major or whatever. Yeah. I was like, holy cow, man, that's cool. Good for him. Because he's a likable guy, man. He really is. And watching him in some of those what are those, the matches they've done, with the NBA players and stuff, or with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and then anyway, with Charles Barkley and whatever too. Well, my Holy Snikes moment, I started paying attention to it because of this right here, baby. The New York Yankees. They were playing the team to the south of us here, the Texas Rangers. Apparently Chuck Norris doesn't play for them anymore because they're not all that good.
No, he moved on to other things.
And Corey Kluber got a no-hitter against them. And I thought, well, man, that's always good when one of your guys on your team get a no-hitter. And then I started seeing some stories pop up about there has been 6 no-hitters in that Major League Baseball this year. 6. Okay. Those have been done against 3 different teams. So 3 teams have taken a whipping to get no-hitted. Just 3 teams, 2 apiece. The Mariners, the Indians, and the Rangers. Who's shocked at that one?
Well, I'm honestly a little bit shocked at that because if I remember correctly, it was just a couple years ago that the Indians were in the World Series.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not that removed. No, the Rangers, I can't tell you a player on the Rangers team. The Mariners, that's the Travelers in Little Rock. You live in Camden, Arkansas. I live in Greenbrier, Arkansas. So part of like a cheap thing for your parents to do to you when you were a kid was take you to a Travelers game. I don't know if they ever actually paid to go to a Travelers game. I think they just got free tickets for some youth activity.
At the grocery store or something like that.
Yeah, so they go like, hey, just go buy. Will you do me a favor, buy a hot dog while you're there?
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that. So they're actually the Mariners. Mariners AA affiliate forever. When me and you were growing up, they were the St. Louis Cardinals AA affiliate. That's part of the reason, I think I grew up a Cardinals fan. My mom, my grandmother, my 86 years young grandmother is if you come into her house and the Cardinals are on TV, you're not watching anything else.
That's right.
The Cardinals are what's on TV.
And you may not get talked too much.
Nope, she is. She's over there.
Zoned in.
She may be over there with a book, and then she may be over there with and she'll be like, yeah, she knows the score. She's a huge Cardinal fan. My mom got her an autographed Yadier Molina jersey one year, and she like broke down in tears.
That's what I'm talking about.
So yeah,
that's a grandma.
Yeah, that's a grandma. That's a grandma. So she was thrilled. So,
but here's the other thing: the Holy Snikes on it, Clint.
Sure.
The record in Major League Baseball and MLB is 7 no-hitters in a season.
Well, that's done. That's
already done. To 6.
Done.
We're already to 6. Clint, we have almost 4 months left in Major League Baseball. We have almost 4 months. It's not even October for Mr. October to come out yet, right? I mean, we got a long time to play baseball, and there's going to be another no-hitter.
Oh,
so I don't know what it is. Well, I'll tell you. Well, never mind. That can get us in a long conversation. But I think no one hits for average anymore. No one hits for, I love the Yankees, but the Yankees could be a fan in a chicken house with as many strikeouts as they have.
And that's a great point. I mean, basketball is pretty much, became a game of dunks and 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Baseball became the home run,
Oh, yeah. That's all these guys do. They get up there and they swing for the fence.
I've been meaning to ask you this, and I had this thought the other day. As a pitcher, which me and you both, neither one really played baseball past maybe Little League, if that. I think I may have played after Buddy League or whatever they called it.
I played 1 year Little League, and that was it.
Yeah, I wasn't a big – my hand-eye coordination is not that good, and you can attest to that. So
I stunk at baseball.
I can hit a softball because it's coming really slow and the ball's that big.
Right.
And then,
I had to practice a lot to be able to do that. Though,
yeah. And my son's 10. He's playing baseball this year, and he's too much like his dad. He's like, I ain't up here to walk.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm either going to get a hit or I'm going to strike out.
Hey, I could take a pitch in the left butt cheek as good as anybody, though, dude.
So,
mainly because it was a big target.
So what do you think's a better feeling as a pitcher? To blow that high heat past them for strike 3 or to drop in that breaking ball for a strike where the guy just sits there and goes?
Man, I don't know. I think both are pretty – there's got to be something about just railing a fastball in there, dude.
I mean,
because you're giving everything you got, everything your shoulder can muster up to get up there. And that guy just sits there and looks at it like, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
That's got to be a good feeling. Yeah. But also, man, from the time you're a little kid, I mean, we did it with wiffle balls and stuff, right? We're trying to get it to turn over and get that, that drop in the ball with a curveball. And to do one that just totally jacks up a batter to where they're like, I can't do anything with it. Both got to be wonderful feelings.
When Wainwright was the closer, Adam Wainwright was the closer for St. Louis for that 1 year, and he struck out Beltran for the Mets that sent the Cardinals to the World Series, and he just froze him on that curveball, and it was a perfect strike.
Oh yeah.
And Beltran, he couldn't. I mean, there's nothing he could say, nothing he could do. I mean, it just. And they had to talk about it because they became teammates later on, and so they end up, having a conversation.
And probably the biggest thing really is what you brought there, is the fact that he outsmarted him in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's such a chess game between the pitchers and hitters. I mean, because you have this small area that you can put the ball in to get a strike called, right? And you're trying to get that batter to either – to look at something that's in that area or swing at something that's outside that area. Yeah. And when you can outsmart them, that's got to be the best. That's where that good feeling comes in. Whether it's a fastball, whether it's a curveball, whether it's a changeup, whether it's who was that guy that threw all the knuckleballs?
Phil Niekro.
Yeah, man.
And one of those. He had a brother. He had 2 brothers. Yeah. Well, Travis, do you ever think that Adam Wainwright sits there and goes, man, wonder what if I'd have thrown him a heater? Would I still got him out?
Yeah.
And Beltran's like, what if I would have swung on that?
Yeah.
What the $1 million question that you ask yourself? We all sit there, we ask ourselves 1,000 times, what if?
What if? That's right.
What if I would have done this? What if I would have done this? Which brings us to the subject that we wanted to cover on today's podcast.
That's right.
It was some of the biggest what ifs in Razorback sports history.
Yeah, man. And the thing is we talked about this. There's tons of them. Yeah. There's a lot of them, and we're not going to cover, there's a lot. And even when you get back into the deeper history of Razorback sports, but we had some that are maybe people our age, and kind of what we get from this podcast is a lot of the people that, we're not getting a ton of views, but we're getting views, and we got people that are dedicated to listen to us every week, and we appreciate y'all big time.
Hey, and the state trooper that gave Robert Branscombe a ticket today to listen to the podcast, thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Hashtag Brand
But yeah, man. But by the way, I'm still a paid podcaster.
Yeah. Oh,
Robert was down here and bought me lunch or supper.
We talked about having breakfast sometime, so maybe I'll be a paid podcaster.
Maybe you can get that again too.
Maybe I can get it again. So,
but anyway, Hometown Roofing for all your roofing needs. Anyway, but no, seriously, we asked that question, what if, and some of the things, and we're going to talk about mainly things in our fandom and our time as Razorback fans. The first one, let me double check my list here.
And by the way, we will say this, we're not going to discuss the incident which ruined my birthday a few years ago. The pop fly.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. No.
Because what would have happened was, number one, Travis, as you said, we don't want to see us cry.
No, yeah. You don't want to see two big guys ugly cry on the internet. That could get embarrassing.
Yeah, and then plus, I mean, really, what would have happened? We'd have won the national title, and recruiting hasn't really been affected. Arkansas has been good for years to come. So, I mean, I don't think
Arkansas would have been even more of a beast in baseball than we are.
There you go.
All right, so that's that answer to that one. All right, here's the first one, Clint. And you brought this up, and I think it's a great question to ask. Back in 1987, for those of y'all that don't know, Arkansas went to the NIT, and they were hosting at Barnhill, and they were put against Arkansas State in the NIT. Nelson Catalina was the coach for Arkansas State.
Oh.
Arkansas State was led by a Greenbrier, Arkansas fella.
Oh, Speedy himself.
Steve Weedor. But they played, this was Nolan's second year, correct? Isn't that right? It was his second year. And he was under a little heat. Okay. And there were reports out in, Orville Henry and some of those folks were questioning if Nolan's job was up for grabs, especially if he would have lost to Arkansas State. So, Clint, what's our what if here?
Well, I think from what I've heard, of course, I'm not in the know. I'm definitely I'm not connected to Frank Broyles or anything like that, so I don't know. But you got to think, if they probably would have fired Nolan. And your immediate what if is, okay, well, we don't win the national championship in 94.
Yeah.
Now this is going to set off a chain of events. Number one, who do you hire? Who do they hire to replace him? You don't know.
Yeah.
I can't picture someone being a better coach than Nolan Richardson at that time.
And just to kind of set it up for everybody, in case you don't, a lot of people don't even know. I rarely hear people talk about this game, but Arkansas only won 67-64 in overtime. They were down by 9 at half. In the second half, they were down by 21. And Ron Hury and Cannon Whitby, another blast from the past name there.
Yeah.
Cannon Whitby brought them back to tie it up, and then they ended up winning in overtime. Okay. So Frank did not want to lose to an in-state school. Frank did not even want to play in-state schools. Okay. We're just now starting to play in-state schools. Frank was the one who kept that. You're right. If they would have fired him, who would we have hired?
You don't know, but the chain of events that could have unfolded that don't happen if you fire Nolan. Does Bud Walton get built?
Yeah.
Does Nolan get a second chance somewhere else? Does he take Mike Anderson with him? Does Mike Anderson become, I didn't think Mike Anderson would work in Arkansas. I really didn't.
Yeah.
And because I thought that ghost of Nolan Richardson would always be behind him.
Yeah.
And it really was. I mean, Mike was an average coach in the SEC. He was middle of the road.
Yeah.
But I thought that's all he would ever really do at Arkansas. I think you gotta be you gotta be a little bit different. You gotta be a little wonky. You gotta be an Eric Musselman type. You gotta be a Sam Pittman type. That's the type of guys that work in Arkansas.
Yeah.
There's going to be just a little bit different, going to be a little bit. And in Nolan's defense is Eddie Sutton did not play the type of basketball that Nolan did.
No.
So you got to think about it. I mean, it's kind of like doing what.
Well, especially in year two.
Yeah.
People are watching basketball. They're not used to watching because everyone forgets. Nolan's type of basketball, there wasn't. Now that's the way everybody plays.
Yeah.
Eric Musselman plays similar ball, except he calls more offensive plays.
Yeah.
Nolan didn't call offensive plays because he would rather just get a steal and get a fast break, or let Big O throw it from 94 feet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you got to think about that. The players that probably would have never been. I think Corliss would have been a Razorback because he was one of them kids.
Good possibility, yeah.
But you got to think about it. You don't get Todd Day, you don't get Lee Mayberry, you don't get Oliver Miller. Scotty Thurman and Corliss were buddies, so you might get Scotty, but you don't get Corey.
Well, and Scotty wasn't heavily recruited. He was a Louisiana guy, so you'd have had a chance with him.
You hear Nolan say, he goes, the only guy that I got that everybody wanted was Corliss. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only one, and so you got to think about that. You think
Ron Hury was a good get, and that opened that Memphis pipeline, which brought him later, Corey Beck, Dwight Stewart, some of those guys. Yeah. But nobody, like stud.
Yeah. No Nolan. It would have been a mistake. I think, obviously, looking back, it was a mistake. It would have been a mistake to fire Nolan, and Nolan's head should not have been on the chopping block unless you're Chad Morris. I mean, look, Chad Morris deserved to be fired when he got fired.
Yeah.
He was awful.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, no coach gets. I mean, you got to give him more of a chance than.
Well, and Nolan had at least made it to the NIT.
Yes.
I mean, so that's a decent season in year two. So I don't think he'd have been on the chopping block. I think the only reason he was on the chopping block was some of the media, and Broyles was telling the media before that he wasn't on the chopping block. But I think the only reason he would have been is because his style of play was so different that people were still back there going, let's see if this guy can really do this. You know what I mean? They were like, well, that ain't how I played as a kid. They're not passing enough. They're not setting enough screens. They're not doing that. They're not setting up the post players. No one didn't play with post players hardly. I mean, it was all running and going.
That's the biggest complaint you heard about Nolan's teams is they don't rebound and they don't make free throws.
Yeah. And you can come back to it when Mike Anderson came back. That was what I was thinking was, when he came back, I'm like, okay, everybody's remembering the good things Nolan did, but they're forgetting the things that frustrated everybody about him. So if he can't win like Nolan, then we're in trouble. All right, so let's take it another step further since we're talking about Nolan, right?
Sure.
What if at the end of his time at Arkansas, which we didn't know was gonna, honestly, no one really kind of knew it was going to be the end of his time at Arkansas. He was still doing some good things, but Nolan, for whatever reason, whether right or wrong, got angry and started saying some stuff to the media, like take my job. And, and I think, whatever happened, there was the lawsuit and he claims he was mistreated. And I got to believe the guy. I mean, I'm not taking sides on any of it.
No. And nor should we. We weren't there.
We shouldn't. However, if anything, if Nolan would look back and say anything, he would probably say, I probably shouldn't have done that with the public as much. Maybe. He may say that. He may not. He may say I shouldn't have said some of the things I did in press conferences. I don't know. But if that had never happened, if he had never got upset with whatever was done to him to make him upset, and he would have been able, if all he had was just pressure to win, which all coaches have.
Yeah.
What would have happened if he would have stayed around and, let's say, retired from Arkansas?
You know, you got to think eventually they would have made Mike coaching waiting. Or would Mike got tired of being coaching waiting and tried to venture out on his own? You don't know. The way it ended, it made it impossible for Mike to get the job. I mean, we all know that. But he had some horses coming in. He had two really good athletes that were Nolan-style players that I don't remember the name, so don't even try to ask me, that went to UAB and followed Mike to UAB because Mike went to Alabama Birmingham right after that season. Mike did a good job holding it together through the SEC tournament. I think they won a game or two.
Yeah.
And then they also had Andre Iguodala committed to Arkansas.
That's right.
And signed with them.
And that was one of the biggest recruits in the country.
Yeah.
He was committed to Arkansas and ended up going to Arizona.
And so Nolan had even said, like, man, I had it. Hog ball was going to be back.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Let's say next year, and this isn't, this is why you create your own monster. You create your own beast, and you have to feed the beast. Let's say next year Nick Saban loses 3 games.
Yeah.
Everybody in Alabama is going to be like the game's passed him by. He's lost touch. Yeah. I mean, you kind of create, you do so good for so long.
Yeah.
You become a victim of your own success. And I think that happened a lot. And the other stuff is the other stuff.
Yeah.
That we are not qualified to get into on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, I think Hog Ball would have been back. I think that next year he would have had a chance. I do think he got a little bit lazy with recruiting for a little bit because there were some years where you're like, Nolan, this isn't good. And you also got to think they literally created the hand check rule.
Oh, yeah.
Because of Nolan Richardson. I mean, Corey Beck, me and you used to be playing out on the playground, and I'd hit you in the hip real hard and go, Corey Beck hand check.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do that anymore. You can't beat people up.
No.
Nolan changed the game.
Yeah.
Nolan Richardson changed the game. Rick Petrino was really successful at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Doing what Nolan did.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. So. Oh, you're exactly right. I mean, there was some up until there had been some guys that did the run and gun style, but it was focused on offense. Nolan focused it on defense. He ran different styles. He would change up the defense. You didn't know, like in the same, right now, Musselman, he'll run man-to-man and he'll run like a 2-3 matchup zone. That's all he'll run, mostly man-to-man though. Nolan in the first half would run a 2-3, a 1-2-2, run some sort of several full-court press, hit you with a 1-3-1, which no one else was hardly doing, and man-to-man. And that's just the first half. You didn't know what they were going to do. And so he was definitely new in style. But, yeah, it would have been interesting to see. And part of me wishes we could have – I love the fact that Nolan has come back, that he has a good relationship with the university, that you see him at games. He was there supporting Mike. He's been there supporting Musselman. I love seeing him there.
Yeah, I'm so happy that relationship has been mended.
Yes.
Between the University of Arkansas and Nolan this year.
That is wonderful. Whoever, I guess Long started that, but Juracek has carried it over. Wonderful. All right, here's the other what if. You ready?
I am ready for this one.
You ready for this one? This is one a lot of us would have thought about probably a lot. What if Bobby P. Petrino had not hired Jessica Durrell for that position in the athletic department?
And see, this is one of them things that grinds my gears a lot. A lot of Arkansas fans think to hear them, Jeff Long fired Bobby Petrino because he was having an affair. Jeff Long did not fire Bobby Petrino for having an affair.
No.
And I guarantee you, there's probably a lot of college coaches who have been unfaithful to their wives. Bobby Petrino is not alone. But you cannot misuse state funds and hire your mistress and keep a state job. You can't do it. I don't care if you're a head of the Department of Finance. I don't care if you're the head of the Revenue Office, the DMV. It ain't going to happen. So that's why he got fired, and he deserved it.
Especially when there was a whole stack of candidates that were more qualified.
I'm going to draw a graph here. All right. So right here is his last season with the Cotton Bowl, right here, where we beat Kansas State. He got fired, and we did this.
That's right.
Straight down.
That's right.
So if Bobby Petrino would have stayed, we would have done this. We would a slow decline, because Bobby Petrino is a jerk. People do not like Bobby Petrino. Was Bobby Petrino allowed on North Little Rock's campus? Yes or no, Travis?
No.
High school coaches did not like Bobby Petrino.
They were starting to. Well, I'll tell this story.
Go ahead.
The day of the motorcycle accident, I was at a local coach's office here in town, whose son was being recruited by Bobby Petrino. And I asked him, I said, is Arkansas still looking at your son? He said, yeah, they still are. He said, it's still iffy whether he's, got all the credentials, size, speed, everything that they want. But they're still looking at him. They're still recruiting him. I said, there were several Camden guys that had gone to play for Petrino. You remember his first year, There was 4 from Camden. And those 4 did not get treated very well. So this coach did not have a very good he didn't like Petrino because of the way he treated those boys. One of them, his mom died, and Petrino got mad at him because the funeral was the same day as the spring game. The spring game, Clint. He got ticked off because he was going to miss the spring game for his mother's funeral. So anyway, I asked this coach, I said, would you let your son play for him? Because I know you don't like him. He said, I would for one reason. He said, Steve Caldwell. Because Steve Caldwell was the defensive line coach. And he said, I have too much respect for Steve Caldwell that my son would learn a lot of football. And he said, so I would let him play mainly because his position coach would be Steve Caldwell. He said, otherwise, no. He said, if he was going to be directly dealing with Petrino all the time, I wouldn't. And that's what was happening all over the state. And not all over the state, but look at the way we recruit kids. We get them, some of them, from the same schools over and over. We get work that's the way recruiting works, right? You may go recruit a kid to be that is going to be a backup receiver for his whole career. But that there's a sophomore on that team that you're trying to get to your team that's going to be a stud. And so you build a relationship to get that guy that may not ever get to play for you very much, so you can have one heads up on that other guy. And his recruiting was falling down. That's what we saw whenever new coaches, whenever Bielema came in, the deficit of not having linebackers. It's because Petrino he didn't care about the defense.
No, and to give a great example about that, everybody hated Willie Johnson. Hated Willie. I mean,
we don't have pitchers. In the NFL, we had pitchers. I got to get pitchers.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But Willie, people would always badmouth Willie. Joe Adams was going to go to USC and play what position? Cornerback.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I know we have this for one of our what ifs later on if we get to it. But I had a friend that's a Tennessee fan, and before the baseball series, he sent me a picture of the Sternover and said, "Good luck, Clint." And I was like, "You son of a gun!" Yeah. So I immediately sent him the YouTube video of the Joe Adams punt returning instead.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Because at least I got that.
That's right.
I don't have it natty, but I got that.
That's right.
So Bobby Petrino was so focused on the offensive side of the ball that he didn't even really mess with the defense. Yeah. And he was so hateful. I tell you, and if I had a son that played quarterback, I'd have a hard time letting him be coached by Bobby Petrino because I see how, and I'm not one of these parents that wants to call on my child to give him a participation trophy for trying, for tying his shoes or anything like that. I want my son to earn his trophies, but I don't mind it being yelled at. I'm not that guy. I mean, because I want somebody that's tough on me that loves me, like Coach Buckner, who we had on the show. I would have wanted someone treating my son the way Bobby Petrino treats people.
And Clint, and that was the thing, man. Like Nick Saban's tough on his guys, but he's not tough on his players like that on the sideline in the middle of a game in front of a national audience. And Petrino was doing that, man. He was chewing Tyler Wilson out on the sideline.
Yeah.
And not just like, man, you got to listen to me. I mean, and then that whole deal with yelling across the field at Les Miles. I mean, I was embarrassed to have him as a coach, to be honest.
By the way, who do you think would win the fight? Who would win the fight, Les Miles or Bobby Petrino?
Oh, Les Miles.
Well, I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
110%.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be an easy one.
I mean, but Petrino's worn out his welcome everywhere he goes.
Exactly.
Everywhere he goes.
And everywhere has been worse for him being there after he left.
Yeah.
For a while. Now, and that's the thing, man. There's still people in Arkansas that would take Bobby Petrino back right now because they said, well, he just won. He won. And you're right, man. I went to the Sugar Bowl. I was happy to be at a BCS Bowl, man. I mean, it was one of the highlights of my fandom as a Hog fan to see the Hogs doing that well, playing Ohio freaking State, man. It was awesome. But still, it felt dirty to me.
Yeah. Because
of who was leading us. And then there was just something felt bad about it. And then when the motorcycle accident happened, I was like, I'm not shocked. I knew there was some shady things about this dude. I mean, he left. How did we not? He left Atlanta by leaving a note on the locker. He's not even man enough to say, hey, let me have a meeting with my guys. If you want to leave 3 games before the season's up, I'm okay with that because that owner could fire you 3 games before the season's up, right? So I'm even okay with that.
See, and I'm not.
Well, I probably, yeah. I could at least make an argument for it. I agree with you. I would probably not be okay with it.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't do it personally. I would want to finish the season out.
No, I would at least offer. I think Arkansas was pushing him to come because recruiting.
Yeah.
And then I think, obviously, I don't know. I'm not Arthur Blank and I'm not Bobby Petrino. But
to do it with a letter.
Yeah. I mean,
on the locker. And then, of course, all the players just wadded it up and threw it away.
No, I mean, how would you feel? This guy that I think what you would have seen, Arkansas football would have still gone downhill. It would not have become the wreck. I think that next year we entered the preseason ranked 8th. I think we would have finished that season probably. You'd have had a used to nut year. You'd had a 9-3, 8-4 season.
I think we would have entered that season higher if Petrino would have stayed.
Yeah. But I don't think Tyler Wilson would have took the beating he took.
No.
You would have probably be talking about, I think Tyler Wilson, he was so damaged his senior year that he went from, I saw one publication that had him as the number 1 overall pick that next year.
Yeah.
And then he dropped to a 4th round and got cut. So, I mean.
And here's another what if to tag onto that. Okay.
Great.
So what if, because we're talking about that team, what if we didn't hire John Hill? What if, because here's what I was thinking at that time. I was thinking you hire one of the guys that was already on staff. Right. Remember, John Hill had left. He'd gone to go be head coach at some small college in Colorado or something. So I was thinking you promote Paul Petrino. Let him be the head coach an interim head coach for a year. Let him prove himself. Because he had actually interviewed for some head coaching jobs by that time.
Yeah.
Let him prove himself. If you like what you see during that year, then he's got an opportunity, first one at bat, to get the job. If you don't like what you see, he's just interim. Bring in a whole new staff the next year. What do you think? What do you think would have happened if something like that?
I tell you what, maybe like you told me earlier when we were talking about the subject, is maybe, the staff and the kids don't quit like they did, because they did. They quit on John L. Smith. But Paul Petrino's play calling the second half of that Louisiana Monroe game, first Sun Belt team to ever beat a top 10 team.
Yeah.
And we were up, 3 touchdowns going in the second half?
Something like that, yeah.
And he kept passing it.
Yeah.
I would have just handed the ball off the entire time.
Yeah.
I would have looked like Jim Chaney in the second half of that Texas Tech game at Texas Tech. Where we do no passes. That's what the offense was. I mean, he didn't, but he almost ruined Brandon. He ruined Tyler Wilson that year.
And Bobby Petrino would have handed it off. So you're right there.
But Petrino would have saw that, and then he wouldn't have let – poor Brandon was in a no-win – I mean, so they did that to poor Brandon Allen. And then the next year, the next game, they played Alabama. I think 56-0. I mean, something ridiculous like that, and Brandon took a beating. It just I think Bobby knew the weaknesses of his team better than anyone else and knew how to hide those weaknesses in a way that Paul did it. I don't even think Paul was the associate head coach. I think Tarver, I believe.
I think you're right.
Was the inside linebacker coach. He would have been the head coach, which would have been interesting to see, what if they would have rolled with that. And that's a good what if. I don't even think, you also, they're on campus helping with the Razorback Foundation. You had Harold Horton. Who I think could have been a very good interim head coach to keep it together. I don't know. I think a lot of the staff was bitter because they felt passed over when they hired John L. Smith.
Well, I think hiring John L. Smith, and once again, back then, when John L. was hired, I thought that makes perfect sense. That doesn't change your staff workout. It keeps Paul focused on the offense. It keeps, Tarver focused on defense stuff. It keeps everybody focused on what they're meant to do. And John L. can just handle all the dealing with the media, all that kind of stuff. You already had some talent. You already had a good coaching staff in place, or so we thought, right? So originally I thought John L. was kind of a good idea because he had been there the year before. He knew a lot of the people, everything. Well, But what that really said to those other coaches was, y'all are not going to be hired here when this is said and done. They knew that John L. Well, first of all, we also didn't know that John L. Smith was going through bankruptcy at the time.
He needed the money.
He was a bit distracted, and it was a money grab. Yeah. Then what it told those coaches were, y'all, we're just going to get through this year. We're going to float through it. And so the word is, all those coaches spent their time focused on their next job, and they wasn't doing as many practices. They wasn't doing as many workouts. They wasn't doing as many meetings. The coaches didn't put the effort into it. Well, for those seniors, like a Tyler Wilson and some of them, they didn't put the effort into it because they wasn't gonna, they were just there for that year. They were just trying to get to the NFL. Are the ones that had the talent.
Yeah.
And then for the underclassmen, it told them, we're just coasting through this year. We'll see what the next coach looks like. So it really told them that we're just going to make it through this year and see what happens. And that's hard to motivate during that. And John L. was not a guy that was taken seriously. Smile. We just got our butts whooped. Smile.
And you got to wonder what would have happened. I mean, I don't know. It's easy to say, but what if they'd never lost to Louisiana Monroe?
Yeah.
I mean, what if they would have been smart? I mean, they were going to lose bad to Alabama no matter what, because Arkansas was doing this and Bama was doing that.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I mean, there's so many what ifs we could go over, and
there is.
And I know we're at the end of our time, and we're going to do another what if show. We come up with all kinds of what ifs, and unfortunately, we're at the end of our time.
Time flies when you're having fun. Right?
Yeah, it really does, especially when you're saying what could have been. I know. You know how many ladies are sitting back that went to Greenbrier High School? This lot if we to give Big C and Bigger T a shot. What if we to give them two handsome devils a shot? And ladies, it's too late for me. I'm happily married. But
it's not too late.
Not that guy.
Not too late, ladies.
He is single.
Hit me up.
And he is single, and his DMs are open.
That's
wide open. And there's plenty of room. Plenty of room.
What was that country group? Wide open spaces.
That is now just the chicks.
That's right. Just the chicks. They got rid of the Dixie. Got rid of the Dixie.
And we're not going to talk about that either, because we're not going to broach that subject. So you can gripe at us. So,
that's right. Well, hey y'all, listen, it's always a blast. We love doing this. We got 25 subscribers on our YouTube page. Thank you, every one of you, for subscribing.
Every last one of you. I know 7 of them are my mom's different accounts. So
that's right.
So,
and my mom doesn't.
19 of you.
My mom doesn't know how to do different accounts. I have to text her the link. My mom thinks anything you do on the internet is Googling. How'd you watch it? I Googled it.
Google machine.
Oh, your mom, you run YouTube. That's not Google. Although they're owned by the same people. Anyway. Well, hey, man. But seriously, folks, please like and share, comment. Let us know what you're thinking. What are your, these what ifs? What do you think would have happened if these things would have changed? Or what's something we messed out? How did we mess up? Listen, I messed up big time last week, Clint. I'm sorry I forgot to do this.
You didn't call Tom Clark cheap, did you?
No. I let me look here at what I did. Yeah. Okay, we talked about Step Brothers, right? And we talked about the last song, and I was talking about how funny it was that they did that song. And I said that they sang the prayer. They did not sing the prayer. Will Ferrell did not sing the prayer.
We did not.
It was Andre Bocelli, but the song is Conde Partiro. Yeah, it's Spanish. I'm not saying it right. But anyway, it was but it was an Andre Bocelli song. If you don't know who Andre Bocelli is, get some class in your life. Go buy download one of his albums.
I'm not gonna do it.
Download it. It's beautiful. He's got check out the song "Fall on Me." He sings with his son. It's actually done in English too. The prayer, what he does with Celine Dion, does the English version of that. Also, he's blind and he's one of the best singers. If I've heard it said that if God had a voice, it would sound like Andre Bocelli. Anyway,
and I'm not going to apologize for Travis getting it wrong because we've told you once, and I'm going to tell you again. We've told you several times. No one does less research than we do.
That's right. That's right.
Or research is me and him talking back and forth, and that's about
that's right.
But we enjoy doing it, and we enjoy doing this. And once again, I echo what Travis said. Thank y'all so much. What are some? We are definitely. This is going to be another episode again soon, because me and Travis. I mean, just some of the what else. What if Dana Altman would have stayed? What if the Sternover never happened? And we can go on and on and on.
What if Bear Bryant hadn't joined the military and came to Arkansas like he was planning on doing when he heard World War II broke out?
Yeah. So there's so many what ifs and different scenarios that could have happened. Who knows? So what are some what ifs that you'd like to hear us discuss?
Exactly.
Too. I mean, anything, any other things, any show ideas, anything like that, you let us know. We love hearing from you. I have friends that will comment to me and they'll just say something to me directly. I did almost forget. I did promise this guy a shout out for being such a loyal follower. And he's helped me out at my job several times. Greg Foreman. Thank you, sir. I know you don't know who Greg Foreman is and you don't want to know, Travis. He's a creepy man.
Okay.
He's a good dude. A little creepy, but no.
A little creepy. All right. Wait. We need little creepy people in our lives every now and then. All right. Well, hey, seriously, everyone, thank y'all so much. Clint, as always, love it. Love you. Love doing this. Enjoyed it. Have a blast. Y'all listen to some Shama Show music any chance you get. It's he'll rock your face off, and you're going to hear some as we head out. Have a great week.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard ground so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come.